Hello, hello. Welcome to the Workplace Wellbeing Summit. I'm Sophie. We are back for the fifth and final day of the summit. So thank you for joining us today. This is going to be a fantastic session to end the week. If you've been here for any of the other sessions, then thank you very much. If you've missed any, then no worries. All of the recordings and the speaker details will be sent out next week for you to kind of watch back and contact the speakers if you'd like to continue the conversation with them. So today, as you know, we have Waking Up to Mindfulness, and we have a bit of a bonus DJ session with Kareen. So let me bring Kareen in now. She's getting herself set up.
Hello, I'm not too far away. How you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, Kareen. So
You're welcome.
Kareen's from Calmify UK. I actually saw Kareen run a workshop live, and I was absolutely blown away. It was so different from any other mindfulness session that I've been to before, and I just thought we have to get you on and kind of have you finish the week for us.
Thank you. I've got some little music on in the background to get us on the Friday mood. Yeah. How are you, Sophie? You all right?
I'm great. Yeah, looking forward to the weekend. So I guess just to let the audience know that we have done a little test to make sure that we're not going to break any copyright rules on YouTube. So hopefully the stream will go ahead completely as planned. But if there are any disasters, then we will just literally recalibrate and come back. So hold horses if anything like that does happen. And then the other thing, I guess, is I'm going to probably turn my camera off and leave you to it, Kareen, because I don't think anybody needs to see me at the side kind of joining in with the session. But what can we expect from today?
Yeah, today is going to be a really kind of chilled mindfulness tips and techniques to get us to think about how mindfulness can help us in our day-to-day life, how it can help with ourselves, but ultimately also these interactions we have, whether you're like a manager or in HR or well-being. All of this stuff is all about how we look after ourselves in order to look after our colleagues and the people we interact with every day. So we have to start with ourselves first. And all I want us to think about today is just taking this opportunity to, be here. That's what mindfulness is all about being present. And we're going to spend the next kind of 45 minutes listening to a bit of music, learning a few techniques, opportunities to ask questions, learn a bit about mindfulness and how you can bring this into your day-to-day.
Love it. Can't wait. So probably the best thing to say to anybody watching is kind of relax, join in, participate. If you do have any questions at all, please do put them in the comments and we will get to them at a good point within the sort of next 40 minutes or so. We'll find time to answer any questions that you've got. And I guess that's my cue to turn my camera off and leave you to it, Kareen. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I'll call you back in if I need you and etc. But enjoy it. You try and enjoy it as well. So hello to everyone who's taking the time to join today. Thank you so much. If you are here, I'll be talking and hopefully we can use a chat. I know I like to see people, but I'm going to ask you if you are online or anything like that, just to kind of pop in the chat if anybody does mindfulness or meditation or anything like that. If you can use the chat and just let me know. But the first thing we'll be thinking about is the fact that, this is our opportunity over the next 40 minutes, as I said, for you to be here and just explore, what mindfulness will be for you. So the first thing I always ask people is, if you're got distractions going on, like your phone or emails popping through, and if you can, maybe just pop the phone down and turn off your emails if possible, because I'll be asking you to do some kind of exercises today, and it'd be great for you to be part of that. So if you use the chat, let me know if you do mindfulness or anything like that. And the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to do a kind of music listening exercise. So I'm going to put on some music. This is my little favourite, one of my favourite spaces. You maybe not think traditionally about mindfulness and music and, noise, but actually listening to music is a really good exercise to use today. So we're going to listen to a piece of music, and there are just a few things I want you to think about when you're listening to this piece of music. First of all, depending on where you are, hopefully you'll be able to take the opportunity to do this. If you're sitting in a chair, you don't have to get up, you don't have to dance, you don't have to do anything. I just want you to just take a moment to just slow down and listen to this piece of music. And when you're listening to it, I just want you to listen to the shapes, the sounds, the notes. I'm going to start putting it on now. Okay, so I'm just turning it up for you a little bit. Just come around here. And just getting in my position too. So I'm just going to relax into the chair a little. If you're sitting down back against the chair. And just listening to a piece of music. It doesn't matter what the piece of music is, because all we're doing is some mindful listening. Really good for tuning in to the senses. And the way we're going to listen to this piece of music today, we're going to listen to the shapes, the sounds, the notes, the tone, and just noticing how it sort of makes you feel. Just roll off your shoulders. You're sitting in the chair, doesn't matter, hands in your lap by your side, in and out, just relaxing. And your mind might be wandering off, but just take a moment, we're just going to sit here for 2 or 3 minutes and listen. You don't have to have your eyes closed or anything like that. Lower your gaze, whatever feels comfortable for you. Just take that moment, listen to the notes and the sounds. Just bring yourself back to the space. Mind wanders off, bring it back. Listen to the sound. You might have had a really busy day. Just take this opportunity to just be here. Just going to listen to it 60 seconds more. It's a great way just to help us land, as we call it, from the busyness of life or from whatever you've been doing. Your instinct might be to be, oh, let me get up and go. You just bring yourself back. Just 30 more seconds before we bring it back down. And when you're listening to music, as I say, it doesn't really matter what type of music, but just notice what your autopilot is doing. Is it that you are ready to move on, do something else, or did the music be like, oh, it's a bit boring, does it feel like it's the type of music you would listen to? The main thing we're doing is just listening to it for what it is, just listening to the music for what it is, really, nothing more, nothing less. Great. Thank you. So hopefully you were able to hear that okay and listen to those shapes and those sounds. And one of the things that this music's great for doing, if you are a music listener, is just to be able to listen to it like that, as opposed to just dancing to it, really listen to how something sounds. And at the same time, it also helps you notice how quickly it is for us to judge, situations, judge sound. You're listening to that and you might think, oh, that's not for me. But actually, why is it not for you? And does it make you feel kind of uncomfortable listening to something that's not for you? And the main thing is to notice that about ourselves, be aware of how easy it is for us to go, oh, that's not something I would listen to, and dismiss, and actually just to sit with that a little bit, sit with that uncomfortability or comfortability, depending on what it feels like. Again, use the chat. Any questions that you have around listening to music, pop that in there, and we're going to go on to our next sort of exercise and tell you a bit about mindfulness. Now, typically, if I'm doing a workshop and all of that kind of thing, I'd use slides and visuals and all of that kind of stuff to talk about mindfulness. But today, you know, on this Friday, I just want you to just be able to settle in a little bit and just explore this topic and do some exercises with me. So the first thing I'd like you to do, we're going to do a bit of a focus exercise now. You've been listening. And this one's going to be a different type of exercise. So this will help you understand a little bit about what it is like to feel like you're being mindful and to explore something. So mindfulness is about being present, you know, being non-judgmental, being in this moment. And what we're going to do is try something out. So I'll ask you to just grab an item, and I don't know if you can just grab something that's near to you. This is a really good exercise just to kind of start to notice things that you may not have noticed before. So just grab an item. I don't know if you have got anything there, just a pen or whatever it may be, and just pop in the chat if you can what kind of item that you've got. And I've got a bulldog clip here. So I'm just going to give you a second or two just to grab something around you and pop it into, you know, the chat if you can, or as I say, just to grab it and spend some time exploring this item. So good focus exercise is to grab something. And the first part of it is just to explore this object. Now, when you're exploring this object, just explore it visually. Got it in your hand, but you're just going to explore it visually. So just take a look at it, take a look around it. You know, what's the surface of this item look like for you? I mean, mine has got, you know, little paint bubbles on it. So take your item and just look at it. And I want you to explore it like it's the first time that you've seen your item. And also at the same time, is there anything on it that you've kind of not noticed before? So let's do that. Explore your item. Again, just pop in the chat what kind of item that you have. We're going to explore it together. And what's the shape of it? You know, mine's got like sort of triangular shape. And you might think, oh, you know, what we're doing this for, again, it's an exercise. So we're exploring and remain curious. So we're going to look at whatever you have. I've got this. And how does the light illuminate and shine off your surface? I'm sitting in quite a bright space, so there's lots of reflections on the window. And what we're aiming to do is just to be present with this item. Typically what we sometimes do is rush on, what's next, but we're actually just going to be here with it. Is it curved? Is it shiny or dull? Are there any reflections on the surface? Is there any smooth or bumpy parts? Any of it, is it hard or is it soft? Is it rigid? And as you're just slowing things down a little bit to explore this item, again, just take a moment to think, oh, you know, have I noticed anything on here I've not noticed before? What's the temperature feel like? Hold it in between your hands. Just feel your back against the chair. Just feel like, yeah, I can do this. You know, I can just be here, be still. The only thing that we can influence right now is this particular moment, isn't it? So that's what we're going to be doing. How much does it weigh? And just slow things down, breathing in and out in no particular way. And as we're exploring that, I do have a question, you know, and again, feel free to use the chat as we're exploring this item. Is there anything on the item that you've seen on here that you've not noticed before? And this is a really great exercise to start to notice things that feels familiar. So just have a think and think, oh, okay, I might have picked this up a few times, but I've not actually noticed that inside the creases in there, there's actually some markings. Is there anything on your item that you've noticed that you've never seen before? And again, you're not trying to make it anything. You're not kind of saying, I've got to do anything with it. All we're kind of doing here is just exploring the item. And the reason why we're doing this and way over this helping you understand what mindfulness is that, and is that when you look at something that feels familiar, like it's the first time, you start to notice things. And when we slow things down a little, it gives us the opportunity to see what's possible. It allows us to be more open. And mindfulness is about being present, but it's about what we notice when we're present. What did we notice when we were trying to be present with this item, exploring it? You know, because sometimes it's really hard to just be like in the now. We live a lot of our life in the future, what's gone before, or in the past. You know, we keep moving into these states. That's how our life goes. That's how our autopilot. But when we really want to make different choices or different decisions in the moment, how do we do that if we're always in this the state of being ahead or thinking about what's gone before? There's opportunities for us to actually go, okay, well, what do I notice when I'm actually here? And what I noticed was like, I've picked up this so many times, but now I'm actually here, I've noticed things. So how often does that play into your day-to-day life? Say in your working spaces, how often does that feel like you go to a meeting and it feels like I'm going over the same thing again and again? What could you do to make sure that you're noticing things that you've never noticed before? And actually, one of the ways, not the only way, but one of the ways you can do that is by being mindful, noticing when you're being present and noticing how it feels when you're present. I mean, I'm not sure for you, but did you like feel just a little bit more calmer when you stopped? Or did you feel a bit more agitated? Did you notice more things? Again, if you pop in the chat what you noticed, did you notice anything about the item that you had? But what it's really trying to tell you is that if you pause, or if you start to slow down a little bit, you can see what's possible. Now, I know that can feel quite difficult to do when we're busy in life and we think, well, how is that possible? Well, that's where the exercises come in. The exercises that if you practice, that's 2 exercises. We've done the music listening to hear. What does it feel like to listen to something differently and listen to the notes and the shapes and the sounds and tuning in? What does it feel like to tune into a familiar situation and see what's possible? And that's kind of what mindfulness is in a way. It's about being present to see how you feel in a situation, being more aware of those stress levels, and then it gives you the opportunity to respond as opposed to react. You've probably heard that, you know, do we respond or do we react? But if we're really pent up, if we're really stressed out, it makes it quite difficult for us to respond in the way that we want to respond. We're going to take a pause. When I say or we talk a lot, it just doesn't sometimes give us the opportunity to just sit and reflect and listen. Just going to take a pause. Mindfulness is about this presence that we have to be here, but also not to do that in a non-judgmental way, not to beat ourselves up about it. And then how do we see what's possible? How can we remain aware? How do we notice more? Well, to notice more, do mindfulness, meditations, focus exercises, breathing exercises, all of these things which you can get through programs or through, say, apps, for example, that give you the starting block, can become part of the way you do things. Therefore, you're able to pull on that emergency mask when you're in that situation. So when you're in that meeting with your teams, for example, and you want to have this environment where we remain curious and open and notice when things feel comfortable, mindfulness and these techniques can help you do that. As I say, it's not an overnight thing, it takes practice. So we've done a little exercise there, focus exercise, just to get you to think about mindfulness. And there's many ways that you can practice this. You've got like an informal mindfulness or formal. Any thoughts on what the differences of those two could be? Again, you can pop that in the chat. But one of the things that I say is that, you know, formal is where you carve out time to sit down and do 10 minutes of, you know, mindfulness or meditation. And informal is kind of when you're sort of eating or walking and you decide to use that as your mindful moments. And you need both of those combinations in order to pull on the emergency mask every day and have this as part of like de-stressing ourselves. And it's, you know, tools that are accessible and inclusive to anyone. So we're going to go into a little bit more of what you can do to make sure that you're being mindful. And I've got another exercise, and I do like to use exercises. so that you can sort of take some of these things away. So we had listening, thinking about how you can use the opportunities to listen if you listen to music, and notice if you're listening to different styles of music, what comes up for you and how easy it is for us to judge. The second one is also then about how we use mindfulness and use an object. We call it like sort of being curious, beginner's mind, we call it in the world of mindfulness. And the next one we're going to do, after I tell you a little bit about the background of mindfulness, is going to be about just a breathing exercise. So just for a moment, just to relax into where you are, because there's nowhere to go. We don't need to rush. This is like your time for you. So when we talk about, mindfulness in the context of, what it is and where it's come from and all of that kind of thing, you may have heard a lot about it already. There's lots of science that supports mindfulness in terms of helping us be better decision-making, focus, creativity, innovation, all of these things that come from the scientific studies of mindfulness. And then you've got like the Buddhist tradition, which is basically where mindfulness comes from, the 2,500-year-old tradition. Some people get a bit funny about that, is it spiritual, is it this and that? But there are a set of attitudes and principles, and those are things like, patience, how patient you are with yourself, how trusting you are of yourself, how accepting are you, how easy do you find it to let go? Are there any of those things that feel familiar to you? Do you struggle with any of those things? I'd just like to ask Sophie for a moment. Are you there, Sophie?
I am.
Yeah. So I got just a quick question on some of those like little principles I was going through, talking about people sometimes struggle with patience or letting go, or, generosity or trust. Do you struggle with any?
Definitely patience. That's something, especially, I guess, as somebody who's quite technical and tech savvy. I think sometimes when, we've had a lot of, I don't know if people can relate to this, the sort of Zoom frustrations that you have when somebody else is in control of technology, but they don't really know what they're doing. And you sort of start to feel the pressure rising because you want to sort of rush ahead really and get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for that. And it's kind of demonstrating that when we look at mindfulness in the context of it just being, okay, I've found a moment and I'm doing it over there. How do we pull on that in that moment that I can just let that go, in that, because actually the frustration is damaging you more than it is anybody else. We send all of that stress hormone into our bodies and just get all het up, but it doesn't change the outcome at that particular moment, the frustration. So it's like, how do we learn to breathe through situations like that, but to be able to do it more intuitively? And thank you for like sharing that, like the things, it comes up a lot anyway, patience. I mean, I can say that as well with my, I have a young son, and patience really does, especially when we're tired, I find.
Yes.
If I'm tired, I get irritated, but it's about knowing that and being okay with that. When I say accepting of that, but it's more as opposed to beating ourselves up, because sometimes we beat up ourselves, don't we, over it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yes. And the comments are coming through. I don't know if you can see them, Kareen, although I think they might be slightly delayed on us. But yeah, if you hit the comments,
look at that.
On the right hand side, yeah, a lot of people talking about what they found, what item they were using.
I see them now. Thank you, because I literally couldn't see the comments.
That's okay.
Sorry. Yes, I can see the comments now, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, so that's brilliant.
Shall I step out now? Are you?
You can step out now. Yeah, you can step out now. Okay. Now I can see these. But yeah,
I'll be
definitely.
Back later.
Yeah. So thank you. And here's me thinking that I'm talking to myself, and I can now see that you guys have been doing the exercising and stuff like that. So which is brilliant. So when we talk about mindfulness and the concept of it, I was just giving you some examples of what principles, and there's like 8 of them, and I just went through a few. So I think it's important to know that when you are practicing mindfulness, if you decide to take, to do a program, because that's where you learn how to be patient. So people might say, oh, you're just impatient. But if you don't know how to be patient, you don't practice patience, it's really difficult for you to be patient in the scenarios that matter for you. So I always encourage people, if they are doing mindfulness or meditation, absolutely, apps and everything have their place, and you use those to encourage you to use your exercises. But if you can learn the basis of what it's there for, because it then helps you, but it also then helps your teams. It helps the people that you work with. So most of the people that actually go through the journey of like, okay, how do I make this part of my exercise program, like I would do if I was going to run a marathon, for example. You run a marathon and you've got to practice a mile, a mile, 2 miles, 5 miles, and then your muscles are getting used to running that distance. That you don't just go, oh, right, I want to be, physically fit and I can run the 25 miles. So the thing about using mindfulness or meditation, these types of things, is that you're using exercise. And what I've tried to demonstrate or help you is go, okay, when you're sitting at your desk, or if you happen to go and get a coffee, you've got your coffee mug, and just spend a bit of time exploring that. And you might think, oh, I'm bored, but it's supposed to feel, like you're doing similar exercises. Not everything is about variation. The same way as if you run, running this marathon, you're going to see a road or go through the trees, but pretty much you're just pedaling your legs through to your destination. So with mindfulness or meditation, it's just about you getting used to being still and not trying to push that away. We're trying to sit with that and be okay with sitting with that. So before I move on to the next exercise, anybody got any questions? Now I can see in the comments and stuff like that. But thank you so much for doing the exercise, and hopefully it just starts to help you see a little bit how, okay, well, if I'm sitting in a familiar situation, am I calm enough to see what's possible? So this isn't about stopping what you're doing and going, right, I'm stopping now and then, I'm coming back in. It's about being able to access it in the moment. So therefore, I can then make a decision now, as opposed to, oh, I didn't even think, oh, I was rushing through, which is sometimes what we can tend to do. Any questions before I go to the breathing exercise? Okay, great. So the next thing I wanted you to do, if you're willing, is just to do a bit of a breathing exercise. So this is just to get you to understand a little bit how you breathe. So this isn't a big breath work exercise. This can be for anyone, anytime. If you feel any time uncomfortable, then please just stop. As I say, it's just to get you to notice what it feels like just to be still a little bit. But again, noticing how easy it is for you to be pulled away, to be distracted. The reason why you do the breathing exercise is just then to notice sometimes what it feels like when your body just wants to release, and how quickly you can do that if you practice these exercises often. So this is up to you. You can close your eyes, you can lower your gaze, or, as we do this breathing exercise together, it's about 3 or 4 minutes. So, and I just want you to be comfortable where you are. If possible, again, close your eyes, lower your gaze, what feels comfortable for you. Just let your hands and your arms just in a relaxed position against your chair, and just take a few moments to focus on what's happening in the body a little bit. Feel the sensation of your back against the chair, your feet on the floor, and your mind might be wandering and thoughts might appear in your mind. So just gently bring it back, your attention back to where you are. When you're ready, just take your attention to just how you're breathing. Just breathe normally. Don't try and change it in any way. Notice what's happening. Without changing it, just feel this natural movement of the breath in your body. Just feel that expansion and contraction, raising and lowering. Just notice how the air goes through the nostrils, in and out. Just pay attention to how your body just is feeling. And just notice where in your body your breath feels the easiest, and just rest your attention there. As you breathe, do not try to judge the process or imagine anything. Just feel the breath and what it's like to just inhale and exhale. Really just feel it like it's just comfortable in it. Notice the movement of the breath, breathing in and out. Just notice how it feels. And you may notice that your mind will wander off, and that's perfectly fine. Just bring it back to where you are right now. Just be aware of this wave-like movement of the way that you're breathing and the pauses in between each of the breath. And every time you get bored and the mind wanders off, just gently bring the attention back to where you are right now and just notice how it feels. Just repeat the process again. Every time your mind wanders off, just bring it back, just many times as you need to, but you're doing this gently and patiently. And just notice the qualities of how you're breathing, whether it's deep or whether it's shallow. And if it flows smoothly like silk or if it has a rougher texture. What can you notice about the way that you're breathing right now? And when the mind wanders off, bring it back to your breath, bring it right back to this moment as many times as you need to. And just notice how it feels to just pay attention in this way. When you are ready, just take a moment and open your eyes. Okay, thank you for doing that. I hope you felt, whether it be better or worse or frustrated. How did you feel just doing that short breathing exercise? Any thoughts? Make sure I can see all your comments, hopefully. Was it comfortable? Was it uncomfortable? Anybody find it uncomfortable? Difficult to do? Okay, so the reason why we do that breathing exercise, or do a breathing exercise, is just for you to kind of notice what it feels like for you in a very short moment of time. So we spent 3 or 4 minutes, and already your body is telling you what it wants. It takes a very short time to just sometimes release, but like when you go on holiday sometimes and you're ill for the first week. Does anyone relate to that? You're like, oh my God, I've took this time off and I've got a cold or the flu or whatever it may be, because sometimes we're carrying all of that tension that we are running in our life. We're carrying all those toxins in the body. And then when we go on holiday, we release that. Or if you struggle to sleep, I don't know if any of you struggle to sleep at night. Sometimes that can be down to we're carrying everything in the day. We're not releasing in the day. And therefore, when you go to bed, your mind's whirring. So one of the things you can start to do is start to think about how you're breathing. The breath for me is the I call it the anchor, the core of everything that we do, because obviously you can't do anything without it. You can't do anything without your breath. So naturally, if I naturally go to it because I'm used to using it as the anchor, used to using it to be calm, but I don't have to go anywhere to be calm. I could just be calm like here. So as we're talking, and if I feel that tension, I can just breathe it, but I don't have to make it overt. I don't have to be in a meeting and go, okay, everybody, I'm just about to go for a little breathing exercise, because it's in the muscle memory. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to think about, it's great that we can be busy. What does calm look like for you? And when you are being calm, can you access that in the moment? And how do you access that in the moment? How do we find those moments through the day, whether it be before the meeting, I'm just going to do a breathing exercise, or I'm going to do music listening exercise, or I'm going to do focus exercise. These are all connecting to the centers, but it helps just to release the stress a little bit out of the body. It means that when you're going into a meeting as well, or situations, your attention and intention is there, but it also helps you notice how you're feeling, and therefore your responses may be, I wouldn't say it has to be calmer, but much more intentional. Any questions on that? Anything around like that, how it felt? But it's just more about your body. When you feel a bit calmer after such a short space of time and you're just sitting in the middle of your day at work, it's your body asking for that rest. And so it's so important for us to connect to that, which is what we Say mindfulness is connecting to yourself, to connect to other people. If we're like this, sometimes it can be really difficult for us to really connect with each other as human beings, as in situations. So I'm going to be moving on to the last part before I play out with a few tunes for you as you get into your day. So I want you just to think about your day, how you go through your day from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and just think, is there one point in the day that you think you can do some mindfulness exercises? And a lot of people say, I don't have time, but today you've demonstrated in 2 minutes, in 3 minutes, that actually your body can feel calm, start to feel calmer. So is there an opportunity in your day where you think you can fit in just a little bit of mindfulness exercises? If you just pop that in your chat or in the comments. I'd like to see, I normally say to people when I'm doing like the program, I'm normally like, okay, I want you to commit to one thing, make it a priority, put it in your plan, put it in your calendar. So where do you think you could pop one mindfulness exercise? I know it takes a few minutes to come up in the comments, so hopefully. But I can see on here you feel really relaxed, calm, sleepy. That's great. So where do you think you'll be able to fit one in? Whether that be first thing you end of the working day. Thank you, Gillian. And you can even do it if you have a commute. You can do it in the car. Before you just get out of the car, spend a mindful minute. You can do it in the morning when you're in between seeing clients. Yeah. So I find that's, Michelle, that's a really powerful one when we try and do it between clients, because sometimes when I'm going from client to client or meeting to meeting, sometimes I'm still replaying everything before I go into the next meeting. And then I'm like very sort of target focused, assume I know what I want and everything. And I don't give any breathing space to be just open in that space. So I think practicing some of the exercises before a meeting is brilliant. Lunchtime, perfect. And in that scenario, Cheryl, you can take, your lunch. And when you're eating, if you eat lunch, not everybody does, people rush through it sometimes, but at lunchtime, just take a moment to eat a piece of that lunch or that lunch mindfully. And as you were exploring for, say, for example, the focus exercise, do that with, part of that eating that meal. Just notice the taste, all of these things as you're eating that lunch. Again, it will feel alien because we're always rushing, but as you get used to it, you'll start to notice how connected you can be. So using your lunchtime is brilliant. Before you start work, absolutely, Danielle. So again, in the first thing in the morning, you could be brushing your teeth, you could be having a shower. And these are all informal exercises there. At the same time, if you have the opportunity, not everybody does at the beginning of the day, but that 10 minutes of just being still is a really, really good time to be able to do it. But if not, I always say, make it work for you. Yes, if you do, you get absolutely. I can truly say, Adam, that since I have had this tool in my world, I'm busy, but I don't say that I'm busy anymore. That's one thing I don't do. I go, oh, I'm busy. It's the default, but I don't actually say I'm busy anymore. I'm doing things like everybody else, but it's no different because that's how life is. I expect to be on this, but the choices I make in the moment, I know if I've been practicing my meditation or doing the exercises, meditations, if I've been practicing them, my decisions and the clarity I have are just much clearer and sometimes calmer. But it doesn't mean that also like you're walking around in some Zen-like state. I think sometimes people think, oh, well, that means I'm just going to be in this calm state. Absolutely not. But what I do know is when I'm, reacting and responding much quicker, and I'm able to access that much quicker, especially like, in interactions in business, but also, if I'm interacting with people and, something may frustrate me, I'm quite quick at being able to notice that. And I do agree, choices that I make in terms of I've got a lot to do. When I say a busy workload, there's lots of things to do, like there always is. But I'm definitely better at choosing and being more efficient with everything, because I'm able to see it more clearly. So thank you for sharing that. Yes, everybody, you know, I don't know anybody that's kind of who tries to practice mindfulness or take time for themselves, find it easy to do. I would say not a lot of things that makes it easy for us to do. The world doesn't command us to do things at a slow pace, which is why I always say it's something that you have to do and make a priority. But like physical exercise, our mental well-being is really important. So it's about that priority. And if you start off with something small, like hopefully some of those exercises today, then, you know, that could just encourage you to think, okay, well, if I can fit 5 minutes in, you know, can I fit in a bit more? But I always encourage people to take one thing, put it in, make it a priority. But there's no way you'll see the benefits unless you commit to doing it regularly, like anything. So does anybody have any questions? Because in a moment, now you've had all this calm going on, I'm going to play a few tunes, if that's okay with you, and to play you out. I know you might jump off and be like, no, I don't listen to this. However, you might just take a few moments just to listen and chill. Anybody got any questions? I'm going to just probably do a little bit of gratitude practice over some music, just getting us to be thankful of this space that we've just been able to spend together. So without further ado, I'm going to put on a few records. Anyone got any questions before I pop on? Actually, I can put it on whilst I'm Now, and the thing is, this isn't about whether, music I like, I don't listen to this kind of thing, but this music's really great for noticing, judgment, how we judge situations, how we judge sound, and sometimes sitting with something that feels a bit uncomfortable. So whatever you're into, it's not going to be a big 5-hour set, I'm afraid to say. But I just like to sometimes use, music to kind of lift us. So I'm going to put something on soon before we go, because I know we're on a 45 minute thing, and I'm going to do this. And just have a little nice chill. Just want you to just think about like the last 45 minutes that you've been learning a bit about mindfulness today, whether you're someone who's a beginner to it or someone who's new to it. Just take that precious time right now. Just feel like what it felt like to be calm and think, gosh, do I want a bit of that each day? Being thankful, living in gratitude. If you happen to have a window, look outside. Roll your shoulders if you want to move them a bit. It's up to you, whatever you feel like doing. Getting you ready to go back into your weekend, whatever it looks like. I like to play music, and I like to sometimes just use these sessions to, bring the gratitude, but also like to connect us. Music's great for connection, I believe anyway. I hope you have a really good weekend, everyone. I really feel grateful for you to have spent some time here with me today. Breathe it in, breathe it out, breathe it in, breathe it out. Keep smiling, keep shining. Think about how you're feeling and what impact that has on the people around you. Just think about that. Every day we have the opportunity to make a change. You don't have to stay on for the tunes, but I'll probably be here for like another hour if it was up to me. Sophie will be throwing me off, won't you, Sophie? Whatever you're into, I like to have some chill tunes, I listen to house tunes. What tunes do you guys like music-wise? I'm going to have a look actually. Yeah, tell me what music you normally listen to, actually. It'd be right to know what kind of sounds people are into. Pop it in the chat. We're going to definitely finish off with one of my favourite tracks, which is Sometimes We Just Want to Like, that's blissful. So we're going to have a nice little relaxing to that. And I hope you have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing. Like you, just find the things that bring you joy. Singing in gratitude. Think about the patience. Think about the things that you have every day to be thankful for. Well, I say I'm going to finish, but like I say, Sophie knows what I'm like. Are you there, Sophie? Are you dancing? We're going to be finishing off soon. What time is it? Oh, yeah.
I think we've got time for another.
And then if you want to, does anyone put on there what music that, yes, some chill tunes. Ibiza's like definitely like got the influence, how I like it. 80s and dance music, absolutely, Michelle. Melodic house, yes, love house. Did you get your set for the weekend? I always say pretend you're on the beach, but that's not life, is it? It's not life really, so we just have to pretend we're in our offices. Sending you good vibes. So you know where I am if you want to Northern Soul, yeah. So just play a little bit on and just have a listen. So I'm gonna absolutely. So when you're ready, you can sign off. I'm going to be on for a little bit longer, so you can choose. Feel free. weekend. You don't want to be on here for too long. You won't get anything done. Hope you have a good one. Thank you so much for joining today. Hope your afternoon's not too busy. Sending out the vibes. Find the time to rest. 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 This track's really called Above Water, and sometimes that's what it feels like we need to be, isn't it? Above water, like we feel like we're drowning. Just breathing that cool air. Let it go. 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 Some of these tracks are like from a South African artist. Absolutely brilliant. It's bringing you into a nice, calm storm. Okay, we're heading out. I said that the last time, though, didn't I? Thank you for joining. Sangria and Ibiza. I'm going to turn it down. Hang on, I'll turn it down. I'm going to try and turn it down. Oh, thank you so much. You have to laugh, don't you? I can't hear anything. Why? I can't hear you.
I'm back.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you for joining the Workplace Wellbeing Summit. We'll get all the recordings out to you. Please don't forget to go and follow Kareen on Instagram at Calmify UK, because she often goes live with the that's what you're hearing now. So yeah, do go. And if you ever actually bring Kareen into your workplace for an in-person session, you mentioned something earlier, Kareen, about eating and being mindful when you're eating, and I won't give anything away, but let's just say that the two things will collide if you have an in-person session with Kareen, and it is absolutely fantastic. So I'll get your details out.
Sophie. Bless you. Take care. Thanks all. Find your moment. Find your mindful moment.